Hey Radion, this is Ned Talks. Today we're going to talk about the main reason that I'm moving and selling my house and another investment property so that I can save faster and why we're doing it, how it sucks, how it's great, and all that stuff.
Hey man, what's going on? Yep, I'd love to hear about this because I myself made a move to in order to even begin investing. So yeah, interested to hear why you're doing this now, and want to hear some details.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people will make moves, especially big adjustments in their lives like this, when they realize that your home or your rent or whatever you're paying isn't necessarily moving you towards your goal faster. So was that probably around the same reasons that that led you to make your move?
Yeah, for me, well, like I've said before in many of our videos, I wanted to make the move to the state of New Hampshire at some point in the future because I figured this is the best place for me to have a family and grow. But I wasn't planning on investing here right away. And the reason I did it right away is because there were zero returns where I was, and I was living in New York City 2 years ago. I looked everywhere. I looked in like a 2 hour radius out of where I was living, and there was no returns at all. And then I just decided to make the move to where I would be
So how
eventually.
long did you have to look before you realized, hey, I need to adjust my where I'm looking and try and find some better returns or just a lower cost of living place so I can save faster?
Yeah, it was. So this was during. It was right after. Well, it was during COVID. It wasn't 2020. It was 2021. So it was about a year and a half before I decided to start looking at the new market.
Okay. So it took me a little while too.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically what happened with me is we already had a portfolio, and one of the biggest shifts for us was all these hurricanes and COVID and inflation, and suddenly we went from basically our portfolio was doing pretty well and we were making pretty good money on it. We were saving and growing, and then insurance just exploded. It went up a huge amount to where suddenly our portfolio wasn't paying for us to live in one of our properties. Because
Mhm.
my rule when we started house hacking. We bought a duplex and we almost lived in the other side for free. And that let us save faster so that we could accumulate and start buying more properties.
Yep.
And so basically the business plan from day one was, all right, I'm going to try and use real estate to lower my cost of living so I can save faster and buy more properties so that I can build up this passive income.
Hmm.
It's not really as passive as you think, but that'll be a different video. And then suddenly, with inflation and repairs and all this other stuff, taxes, insurance all went up. And our portfolio was no longer covering the expenses that it used to. And we had made the decision about 2 years ago to afford ourselves the luxury of buying a single family house that didn't produce any revenue, that didn't help us get where we were trying to go because we thought we had made enough progress to make the financially, from our perspective, unwise decision
Hmm.
buying a single family house that doesn't pay its own way. And so when our expenses went up and no longer covered the property, it was like, well, we can either stop saving as much as we were and not get towards our goals as fast as we were, or we can pull the plug, suck it up, and sell the house and get back to progressing again. It's not that we stopped progressing, but we are definitely not progressing at the rate that we were before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Now these insurance rates that scares me a little bit because that can happen anywhere, right? How often does that happen, and why was it so much that it would affect returns? And do you know any other investors that were affected by these, and
I
what are
know
they?
a couple other investors. Other states is not as big of a deal because in our part of the South, in New Orleans, we're kind of below sea level. Everyone knows Katrina and
Yep.
Hurricane Ida and all these big hurricanes that have caused big flooding issues. And so for us, um, just general insurance and flood insurance and all these other costs are they're a bigger number when we do the numbers on a property. So I know people in other states, like for example, how much would just your total insurance be on one of your properties if it's worth
Um,
300, 400K.
on my current property, right where I am right now, it's 1,500.
Okay. So I have this house I'm in right now, the insurance on it, I think is 8,500 a year. But when I bought it, it was 3,500, 4,000 2 years
Okay.
ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another house, a fourplex that we had when we bought it, the insurance was I think it was 6,500, but it's a big fourplex, so 6,000 square feet. And this year it renewed at 25,000.
Hmm.
So when you see a jump in
Massive.
expenses that much, it goes from being, hey, insurance isn't that big of the annual expenses to, okay, well, now insurance is about the same as the mortgage, which
Yeah.
was a huge jump, which I did not have that in my spreadsheets. I didn't say, all right, every year insurance will go up 30%. That was not in there. But it's not deterring me from investing. It's just, hey, these changes happened. Some properties were affected worse, and other properties were not as affected on a cash flow basis because obviously rents went up,
Mhm.
and some properties went from making money to I didn't have any go completely cash flow negative, but one of them basically went from making I think 2,500 bucks a month to making 200 bucks a month. And
Hmm.
I'm kind of like, well, I didn't buy a property for $200 in cash flow because if a
Yeah.
water heater breaks, I make no money for the year.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm going to sell that one and the house we live in, and that'll free up enough cash to hopefully find some other properties that make more sense. And if we can't find them locally, then we'll maybe we'll buy them on the North Shore in the new area we're moving to. So,
Okay. Cool. Do you know if any other investors and are they doing the same? That's
um,
affected them.
a lot of investors I know went a less passive route. So some people went the Airbnb route, and they're under different issues. So
Mhm.
Airbnb is kind of banned in some cases. They've made a bunch of rule changes. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I hear that everywhere. Oh, every state is different, and every state
So
is trying to do something about it. So I'll wait
yeah,
on that maybe 5 years or so before I
yeah.
look.
And so some of them are making adjustments to try and figure out, okay, well, I can just go away from short term. I can do medium term, or I could do, I could just make it a long term rental and it'll still be fine. Their just returns might not be as good. But I mean, I kind of view this as, if you've got a stock portfolio, every now and then one stock might not be doing so well, or some news comes out that where you're not as into that company anymore and you just need to make adjustments. And that's where I'm at. Some of my properties are doing way better after all this than before. And it just so happens that this one is atrociously bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not worth it. Well, you said some of your properties are doing better,
Yeah.
and that kind of leads into my next question. Do you think rate increases or insurance increases like the one that you experienced, do you think they increase rents in an area, or a better question would be, what do they cause to the to the investments to happen, to the numbers basically?
Oh, so yeah. So do the landlords pass it down to the tenants?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think generally speaking, those expenses are passed down to the tenants.
Hmm.
But this is a special case. In our region, they went up
Yeah.
so much
Yeah, you
that the
can't double the
landlords
rent,
and the
right?
tenants can't afford it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the only place that the balance sheet moves is the property values have to come down to adjust for that.
Hmm.
Because the only way to make the yield go up, if you can't increase the amount of cash flow, is asset value has to go down for the
Yep.
yield to go up. That's just basic math. But since it's a regional thing and it's happening across the region,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of equity in this particular property that I'm selling, I got lucky because the area that property is in is really and honestly the reason that I view the cash flow as horrible is the equity went up a lot because that's a really popular area to live.
Hmm.
And so a lot of those multifamilies are people are buying them, knocking out the wall between the two units and converting stuff into single family.
I see.
So that's turned into kind of a luxury neighborhood. And the equity in that property is like the yield is just atrociously low. So someone
Mhm.
will probably buy that and turn it into a vacation home that covers its note because it'll do that.
Okay.
Um, but it just doesn't make sense if you're trying to make it doesn't make business sense anymore. If you're trying to buy
Mhm.
a property to make cash flow on it, it's not going to make me any cash flow, but it'll basically be a free vacation home for somebody else,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
Have you seen prices go down anywhere in the area because of this?
Yeah, I have seen prices go down. And so you see people like Zuber or the Lumberjack Landlord, a couple other of the ORET community channels talking about how in general prices are stable or going up. The
Yep.
New Orleans region is one of the few areas where prices are actually going down. And it's not from a lot of the stuff everyone else is talking about with, you know, the depression coming or like
Mhm.
the market
Yeah.
is screwed. It's literally only insurance, and it's
Yep.
because it's been badly managed by the state, and we've been unlucky as far as the way that storms have played
Natural
out
disasters, yeah.
in recent times. And so over time, it'll get solved because if you look back in time, you can see that something similar happened back when Katrina hit. Insurance companies had to raise their rates to make the money back because of the amount of money they lost
Yeah.
from the
All the claims, yeah, all the
yeah
claims.
yeah. So it'll balance out over time. It's just, I could hold on to my properties and just cross my fingers and hope that things balance out in 5 to 10 years. And
Not a good investment strategy, crossing your fingers, I've heard.
yeah, it's not a great investment strategy. Honestly, I'd probably be fine,
Hmm.
but it's not optimal. I know a lot of if not most other real estate investors I know are just going to hang on and hold all the way through, and they'll be fine. Because they've been doing it for longer. They don't owe as
Yeah.
much. Their cash flow's like my cash flow right now is still fine. It's not
Hmm.
great,
Yeah.
but so
Okay. And the last question about this, how much have you seen prices go down in those specific areas that you're mentioning, or the region? I'm assuming
um
it's not a huge amount.
not a huge amount to be honest.
Hmm.
They're just not, I mean, maybe I see stuff selling for like 10% less.
Okay.
I saw a 20 plex that would have sold for probably 1.5 to 1.6. Stuff like that might sell for 1.3 or 1.4 instead. So not huge haircuts,
Mhm.
not but not keeping up with the rest of the country. And honestly, that's fine. The market will figure it out, or other insurance companies will come in and say, "Hey, look, y'all mismanaged your funds, and we're gonna come in and offer a better product for less," and then the market will fix itself. Just
Okay.
right now, with the way that the Louisiana government is treating insurance companies, from a legal standpoint, a lot of these lawyers are beating up insurance companies and making it just difficult for them to be competitive with pricing. So the government needs to figure this out.
Okay. Okay. And now what's next? What's next for you?
Well, we're
Where-
we're gonna move up and live with family. My family's got a little bit of farm property up north, and we're gonna move in with family for a little while so we can get our savings back to where it needs to be.
Mhm.
And we're gonna look and try and find a, a better long-term property to live in, whether that's a duplex, whether we build, whether it's in a good school zone. Um, but before we do a long-term solution for our family, we're probably going to try and figure out where to put that capital that we get from
Mhm.
selling these properties into probably one or two, maybe three more investment properties, so that we
You're
don't
gonna
get
be
in the
looking in the
situation
same
again.
area, I'm assuming, for now.
Within a 30-minute to 60-minute drive.
Okay.
Um, right now we're, focused on the family thing, so probably where we live will probably be good school zone will be the focus,
Hmm.
but I will be looking at two or three markets, kind of doing the whole trying to figure out where my new buy box is going to be. And I've done a lot of buy boxes, so for me it's I'll look at them for probably 2 months, and then I might say, hey, look, this one's not really trending in the direction I want, so I'll look at another. So I'll do probably one or maybe two at a time, but two is kind of hard to do. So
Yeah.
I've got an idea of 3 cities that I want to look at that will probably have yields that I want, but those cities have to be places that are growing or stable. I don't want to pick a city that's losing population
Yeah.
because you don't want to invest somewhere for 30 years and have all the commerce and manufacturing and stuff be leaving in the next 15.
There, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think that I'm curious to learn and hear about how you do that, how you start a new buy box. So maybe we should have like a little workshop next video, and we can like
yeah.
around the market and then start and do a little analyzing.
Yeah, I haven't intentionally started a buy box in a long time because I've just
Hmm.
been investing in the same place for, I
Yeah.
don't know, 10 years.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. 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 Cool.
so
Alrighty.
anyway, it'll be exciting. Anything you have to add?
No, no, I think I asked all the questions I wanted to ask. Yeah, I think we should really do that buy box video. I think that'd be a good workshop, and
Yeah, that'll be
good way for
fun.
me to learn a little bit too as well. So
Starting again will be interesting.
yep, yep, for sure. All right, thanks for having me, man.
All right, talk to you later.
Yeah.